I love that the drummer looks like Eric Church. That's funny.
All these are just psychotic.
Yeah, I mean, I did tell you to make sure you read the lyrics.
I didn't really. I tried listening first, and then I tried listening because we listened to the first one and then the second one, and then you guys went away, and then I think the next day I started reading it, and I was like, Cass, the first, like, we should probably just start this because this is all pretty good.
Yeah, all right.
Welcome to CDR. I'm Bryn. This is Matt. This week we have been going through the head-banging trauma of Cannibal Corpse 15th album, called Violence Unimagined. And boys been together since late 1988. Yeah. First got together in December. They've done 15 albums. Yep. The artwork is all done by the same person, Vincent Locke, who is very much... What was the word you used before?
Very competent at drawing viscera.
Viscera. And we're using big words this time. Matt's going to use big words this time because these guys are very, let's say...
Verbose?
Yeah. Just another big word. They brought in a new guitarist this time, Eric Rutten, who is a part of the trio Hate Internal. Unfortunately, Pat O'Brien caused himself a little bit of mischief in his neighborhood or a rental neighborhood and maybe under house arrest for a little bit.
Yeah, dang.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you told me last week to read before listening to it because... It made me appreciate the album a hell of a lot more because I knew what it was going on. And the stories behind these lyrics the stories in these lyrics are insane. Like, Hannibal Lecter would be proud. You know, if it goes through, it's got a little bit of pandemic in there. It's got a little bit of underground mafia work happening behind serial killers putting up decomposing bodies in their living rooms. Fuck, there's a lot in here.
It's horrific.
It's really horrific. And reading it out loud to your wife will make you go shut up for the rest of the day.
I can't believe you read it out. I wasn't game enough to read some of the lyrics out to Tony.
I had to. I could not be the only one. I'm like, you listen to the first lyrics of... Murderous Rampage is... The attic is filled with a foul odor that is rising from the rotting bodies in the basement. Fuck me dead. And when the bodies aren't rotting in the basement, they're on display in the living room because he just has so many. It's unimagined.
Yeah.
It's hectic.
Would you like a quick little anecdote about Cannibal Corpse?
Sure.
So the quick anecdote is back in the mid-2000s, the Australian ratings office didn't have a proper adult rating system. And so they didn't know how to rate Cannibal Corpse because their highest rating wasn't sufficient for the legislation they had at the time. So they straight out banned Cannibal Corpse's music from being distributed and sold. There was a somewhat famous skit done by the Chasers War and Everything where Andrew Hansen plays elevator music, lounge music, but uses the lyrics from a Cannibal Corpse song to try and give off the impression that it wasn't the lyrics that were harmful to Cannibal Corpse, it was just the death metal music around it. And so naturally it's him playing this lovely piano piece as he's doling out horrific lyrics. But like at the time, in their past albums, they also had songs with somewhat more uncomfortable titles like I Come Blood, Fucked by a Knife, and Hammer Smash Face. What was the other one? There were some other even more unfortunate names that I might avoid saying on the podcast. You know, I don't know if there's one past explicit E for explicit on the podcast, but let's not go there. So that's sort of something of the history there. Like they had trouble even being rated for sale in Australia because of the...
Did they fix the problem?
Yeah, so they now have an adult 18 plus rating. So...
Oh, wait. So, this is back in the 88. Oh,
No. This was mid 2000s. So there were other artists that had issues with distribution, and so that's why there was such a bevy of artists watering down their music so it could actually get distributed in Australia. And another reason why you listen to the radio, you're probably not listening to the real version of the songs of more controversial artists.
Yeah, most definitely. Everyone's got to make a radio-friendly song.
That's it. I'm glad you read the lyrics.
I am so glad I read the lyrics because once I was able to separate the singing from the music, it actually became quite a fun and unusual up and down. And I do mean up and down because there is this just heavy, quick riffs that just roll through it for a good minute or two. And then they have intervals through every song. There's intervals where they just got to stop and do the full beat bump 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 dun 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 bump bump bump, like just do that throughout. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Like that gives me time to breathe. Definitely gives the singer some time to breathe,
and the drummer.
Then the drummer some time to breathe. But even he, I think, is working flat bickies to get that. The drummer is insane throughout this whole album. It's insane what he's working with. Every now and then you will hear where he just does the roll around on the drum set. And if you hear that, that's probably the only time where he's not hitting a cymbal and just like going full bickies on double kicks too.
The other thing too with death metal, and you might have picked it up in some of the tracks, is that they have a predilection for mucking around with the timings because why the fuck not?
Yeah.
So not only is it quick, but then there are these really odd, sharp breakdowns that basically throw away all convention, and the drummer still has to keep time during all of that. Nothing but respect for the poor drummer.
Yeah, and the drummer says like it's not hard, like physically, endurance wise for these songs, but technically he had to practice a lot just to really get just automatic to do it. How would you say that? What other word could you use for that?
Where it became by rote.
Mechanical.
Yeah, absolutely. He didn't have to think
He didn't have to think too much, but like, and the guitarist, that sometimes even the bass just takes over and it just does this driving force through it. I can't remember which one off the top of my head. Slowly Sawn.
Yeah,
it's a fun song about someone strapped to a table having their limbs sawn off over days. Each limb gets its own saw, and the madman does everything in silence without facial expressions.
Yeah, I mean, I did write down actually that has an evil main riff.
Yes.
It has that chugging part in the middle of the track where the riff that leads down to the chug is this chromatic that, you know, sort of gets the hackles up in a good way.
Yeah.
Some of the riffing is really quite good on some of the tracks. Some of the more interesting riffs do get lost in the mix, and this is one of my problems with the album sort of generally is like the drums are awesome, but when there's so much happening at once, it can become hard to sort of pick out all the different bits.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mash. And it was really, really, you have to really concentrate and close your eyes to separate. When he's singing, it becomes even harder.
Yeah.
But behind it, there's so much going on.
I had a question.
Yep.
What track stood out for you most lyrically?
Lyrically, Murderous Rampage and what was the last one?
Cerements of the Flayed.
Cerements
of the bookends, hey?
Is Cerements of the Flay. I thought I was shocked with the first one, just off the first couple of lines with the attic and the foul stench. But Cerement is what, Matt?
It's something like a waxy paper that you put on a dead body, usually.
Normally to wrap up pharaohs and shit like that, whatever. Flayed is where you remove the skin from the body of whatever it may be. And in this story, this person is buried alive wearing someone else's skin after he's been flayed himself.
Why must I die this way?
Oh, spoiler alert, he somehow gets out of the ground and has to come to terms with this mayhem.
Yeah, I must admit the visual image of someone just slowly being cut, skin removed, and then slowly just knitting it onto someone else is kind of awful, kind of impactful.
I think probably the one I found that was most clever and fun was the contamination contagion.
Is it condemnation contagion?
Condemnation contagion and Inhumane Harvest.
Yeah, look, Inhumane Harvest was weirdly catchy as well. Like for some reason, you know, everything must go being one of the lines.
Everything must go that is sellable, and then whatever's not must be burnt and got rid of the evidence. It's a story of mafia kidnapping people, taking their organs, whatever they can sell, because there are people that desperately want parts. And then they burn the rest because they don't want to be caught. And these people disappear forever.
Yeah, but the thing is that, like, there's always still that extra little line just to add that extra bit of horror. And it's everything must go before the victim dies. You know, you don't want him dying and then you take the organs.
It's removing the organs while they're still alive.
Yeah, obviously.
Obviously, need to be fresh.
Yep. Thank you. I was going to say that. Yeah. Everything must go.
But then, they move into other stories of like surrender, kill, and devour.
Surround, kill, devour?
Surround, kill, devour. I really need to work on.
So I reckon this is the catchiest track.
You do think so?
Yeah, because it goes surround, kill, devour. It comes in at something of a punchier part of the chorus that is almost sing-alongable. Almost. I'm not going to do it right now, even though I have already attempted to do so. But, lyrically, this one's also kind of confronting sort of the idea of, like, that pack mentality. You get 3 or 4 strong individuals finding some weak specimen and basically tearing them limb from limb because they hungry.
Yeah. The weak feed the strong, not before they torture, surround them, and tease them. Of course, that must happen.
Must.
When humans get to a stage of starvation, they become, the word they use is lupin.
Yeah. Yeah.
The mentality of a wolf pack.
So, lyrics aside, were there any songs that stood out for you then musically?
Musically, Follow the Blood.
Yep, actually.
Had just this, about 3 minutes in, and I know it does it a little bit at the start as well, but it has this solo finger picking that's just insane.
Yeah, I've got my note as most melodic solo of the lot.
Yeah, it was
comfortably.
Awesome. I think that was probably one of the best solos, but even Inhumane Harvest had a pretty good solo. And this is the part that I want to make clear is these are the intervals in the song.
The breathing parts.
The breathing parts where the guitarist puts on a little bit of a show. In some areas, the drummer puts on a little bit of a show. A rocking riff in Bound and Burned. Which is these another insane. It's insane. Okay, this one is about being abused as a child, physically, mentally, psychologically, until the day they snap, knock out the person, tie them to a chair, dose them in gasoline, send them a light, let them slowly burn, and a painful death.
Hooray. I mean, on the music front, I've sort of got notes along the lines of it. It sounds like a bit like a Dio track at the start, then it falls into your normal sort of black metal type riffs. But the guitar solos are quite nice, textured and harmonized.
High pitch, just cranking in.
This track, actually, I had a bit of trouble distinguishing from the rest of the track list, funnily enough. If it honestly wasn't for the harmonized guitars, this one probably gets lost in the noise.
Yeah, true. Towards the back end of it, where the high pitch and the guitar comes in and the drums. Oh, man. That's all I can say. Except for these lyrics are so fucked. I can't believe this. I'm happy to not do this for a little bit.
Yeah.
But if you find another album that's just as heinous and just horrible, chaotic, and just makes you go, fuck, people think of things like this.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, last year's equivalent would have been Visions of Bodies being burnt.
I was about to say, after clippings, this was probably easy.
But this one is a little bit more direct. There's no hiding it behind interesting wordplay. This is, we ripped them apart.
No, we're going to tell you how it is.
Yeah. And we do it slowly, methodically.
Oh.
And so, any other
really
music
patient.
bits?
Sorry?
Oh, sorry. Any other music bits?
Musically, Over Torture.
Yeah, that's the fastest one on the album,
that was
for sure.
So quick. What did I say? Chaos, flat out, full bicky. The guitar riff sounds like it came from a game, and you were saying like Final Fantasy.
So the reason I bring up Final Fantasy is like in Final Fantasy X, if you kill one of the enemies by like twice its max HP, you get a little icon popping up saying, overkill? It's like, yeah. Over torture. I actually, like, a part of me just can't help but think that, like, that's what this track is some individual finding some way to get that stat unlock, that over torture stat going up, given the fact that the entire track is just about all of the different ways that you might torture someone in a 2.5 minute blister of a track.
I'm a little sad about that. I thought you were going to say Final Fantasy. Actually, after you do like the overkill, it just does like a hectic riff, just like.
No, that would be too cool. And the problem is that now I've got like the which is the victory music, and that is just so camp by comparison to anything that we've listened to all week.
Yes. I'm happy to just stop right there. Do you have anything you want to add in?
I do. Some of the other musical bits that I think are somewhat interesting to me. The riff for Cerements of the Flayed is this chugging, slow, augmented-y type riff that I think really plays well with what the story is. I think the tracks at their best are the ones where the music provides something of an interest that aligns with what the track is trying to do. And for some reason, the riff works with the story. And I think that along with the horrificness of the story, that track really stands out for me. You then have tracks like, Murderous Rampage is that bash you in the head at the start kind of track. It sort of doesn't let up. And Follow the Blood was the most methodic. I think for me, what was both pleasing and displeasing, funnily enough, is that it was a straight up death metal album. I guess I was kind of hoping, having listened to odd tracks in the past, I was hoping for something that allowed the tracks to distinguish themselves more from each other than they did. So I feel like if you closed your eyes and try to listen to it, you may have trouble distinguishing when a track ends and when a track begins. It sort of can be a bit of a wash, which is a shame because a lot of the technical work is so excellent, but the songs sort of follow something of they're not formulaic, but they're going to bash you in the head for about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. There's going to be a solo, and then they're going to bash you in the head again with the same thing on the way out, and then they're going to do it for an entire album. I was kind of hoping for some other bits more of interest. Well, there were bits that kind of hinted at it. Like, take, for example, Inhumane Harvest. Towards the back end of the track, after the solo, you had this real kill switch engage type riff towards the end that it's sort of a bit lighter. It's nowhere near as punishing. And then you're back into the everything must go lines, and it's chugging along. I don't know. I guess I was hoping for... I don't know what I was hoping for. Maybe...
You want something with teeth? You keep talking about having something with teeth.
This had teeth. I also want it all, right? Like, in terms of getting points on my register, it needs to satisfy every single box, right? So, where this had teeth, it lacked in diversity.
Okay.
Fair comment?
Fair comment.
Okay.
It was. I did find it hard to distinguish between tracks, especially when...
On listen, yeah.
On one listen or two... Because some songs just don't give you a breath between the next song. It's just like bang, straight in, intense, and you don't see it coming. You're just like, fuck, we're on a ride.
Yeah.
Lyrically, this is great. Can't understand it. If you try listening to it, if you can, good on you. You have really good listening skills. Or you just listen to a lot of mumbles.
Well, it's actually, like, that's what I was going to say too. I actually think it's kind of readable by comparison.
Some points.
But also compared to their old stuff. Like, if you listen to Hammer Smash Face after this, and you will understand what I'm trying to tell you. There were passages where I could understand him quite fine. That's a long way removed from what my experience was earlier.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think as they go along, they need to protect their voice, and they may just start singing, not singing properly, enunciating words a little better.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you wonder how you can produce 15 albums and still keep going.
There's a lot of work that goes into being able to like sing like this too.
Yeah,
I don't think people realize that there is a lot of work in trying to make your muscle and not fuck up your throat by doing this continuously.
Yeah, you do it wrong, you basically are just screwed. Yeah. So I do have one last question.
Questions sent.
Yeah. How was your week listening to it? So like we've talking about it analytically, but I don't feel that I've gotten your opinion on the album.
So you originally chose this album because you wanted to upset me.
Because you had upset me in the process.
Which I will do again today. I took it as a challenge,
Okay.
and thank you for the challenge, because I now am able to listen to death metal and see it from a different view. This is what I really do enjoy about this odyssey and journey that we're doing is, let's say I'm not expanding my horizons in my palette of taste and music I have listened to. It's more like I'm strengthening my muscles to be able to resist and not stick to one genre.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, you don't have to like it, but the act of listening to things you
Tolerating,
wouldn't-
I've come to tolerate it, if not enjoy certain areas about death metal.
Yeah.
That is, it is worth being praised for. The energy that goes into it, the hardcore riff. These people they're not just sitting on doing normal riffs, basic 4 chords. Like, they're going hell for leather.
Yep.
Everything is maxed out. And this is an album, if you're okay, just separate yourself from the lyrics if you don't want to, but really have a good listen to the structure of these songs, the riffs, the power of the drums and the bass that just reverberate through the speakers. And you will enjoy some sections, if not all of the sections, and just be open-minded to it. And read the lyrics if you just want to be horrified.
So I would say that this album would satisfy Cannibal Corpse fans and would be very applicable to people who are interested in black metal, death metal, and maybe even on the lighter end of thrash potentially.
It's only 40 minutes.
Yeah,
It's a shit car ride.
for you. I'm not allowed to put it on in the car.
No. I was actually going to ask, my question was how'd Tony go with this?
Tony listened to, I think, the first 30 seconds of the first track, and she was like, I'm glad Bryn's listening to it and not me, is what she said. I'll give my score, and then you can punish me in kind.
7 and a half.
So my score is entirely based on my enjoyment. So I throw out all of the analysis.
I
This is
get that.
just on my enjoyment. I'm not in a rush to come back and listen to this album. The guitar energy is awesome, but it's a tiring listen for me. I think death metal's too far down the metal path for myself.
Yep.
Thrash is probably as deep as I go, and maybe the odd black metal track. So
Yeah.
in terms of my personal enjoyment, I'm probably hitting it on a warm 5, I'd say.
Okay. Oh, wow. Do you think there was any inspirations, or do you hear any other bands in this album?
Oh, I hear Dio, I hear Killswitch Engage, I hear like the Human Abstract, a random black metal band that when they do their real technical parts, it just sounds exactly like them. They're the ones that sort of come to mind, but at the end of the day, Cannibal Corpse is largely death metal. Those other bands are what you hear when Cannibal Corpse start to leave death metal for those little bits.
Yep. We may also want to just add in that Cannibal Corpse is like one of the forefathers of death metal.
I mean, I don't think it's too outrageous to say that they're sort of like
They're the path.
They're the Metallica of death metal,
Oh, yeah.
right? I mean, 15 albums, 30 odd years of service to the craft.
Yep.
They're
Still shocking.
They're the big wigs in this space. But yeah, they get a 5 because this isn't a space I like to occupy.
Fair enough. Do you know what next week's album is?
Can I guess?
You may, certainly.
Is it Soul?
Yes. It's a triple album.
But we can't listen to And because we're not thingos.
Exactly, but we can at least see what the difference is between these two sections.
All right.
Look, it's impressive. Who else is bringing out triple albums besides that go together?
That's not fair because if you release 5 in a year, I don't think you have to have that as a caveat. Anyway, just so those playing at home, Soul by Eric Church.
Soul by Eric Church,
So,
which
I mean-
is the third album in his trilogy.
And
this year.
I'm less bitter about it because you had to suffer a death metal album to have your way. My only critique of this as the album choice is the fact that you mentioned that you liked your horizons expanded. We're going to be listening to another country album by the same artist.
I've also got OCD and I need to finish it.
Well, you've earned the right to, so we'll listen to that this
Most
week.
definitely. Oh, thank you for the week. It was enjoyable. All right, it was CDR. Catch you next week.
Bye.
Oi, if you have any fun facts about the album, leave it in the comments below.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. We would love to know more about
Tell us-
anyone and everything that's involved in this album.
And tell us why our opinion's wrong.
Yeah. That's the best part.
Yeah.
You're so fucking wrong. You had no idea what it was about. It's like,
Five? A 5? He gave it a 5? No one listening to death metal speaking like that, are they?
No.
A 5?
He's looking at us like, reading. He's like, fuck this guy. He don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, he's fucking off his drop.
Fuck. Honey, have a look at this.
Yeah, he gave it a 5.
I fucking had no idea.
Anyway, yeah.
Death metal.
Bye.
Have fun.